You're listening to The Breakfast Show on Faith FM with Skafy, Lindsay, and producer Tish. Today is the 19th of March. It's Thursday.
Already?
If you're listening live, yes, we are almost approaching the end of the third month of the year. The best month because it's my birthday month.
That's just gone so quickly.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes. Speaking of which, if you were born in March, you can text us here with your date of birth and we will get you to the birthday draw. 0491-064-669. Producer Tish, can you please give us a new quiz question?
I most certainly can. When King Solomon died, where was he buried? When King Solomon died, where was he buried? 0491-064-669. Let us know, when King Solomon died, where was he buried? We have one correct answer and two correct answers. Very good from our hosts, 0491-064-669. If you also know where King Solomon was buried, please let me know.
Okay, let's just say something here.
Yes.
Okay? Do you know what a bull's eye is?
Yeah.
Like in a target
Yeah.
practicing? Lindsay's answer is like at the outer rims. Mine is like at the very pointy
It's the
red
same
center of
thing.
it. It's not the same thing.
We have two
I'll tell you why.
sections of our answer listed on the quiz question. Both of you are correct, and if anyone gets
it's correct.
two sections also,
But I guess
we'll be
if
very
you
proud of you.
we'll talk about that one. I'm going to be bringing it to the quiz question court.
Okay.
Okay?
So is it like mine plus his equals the correct answer?
Yes, correct.
Okay. But they're both also individually correct.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say that mine is definitely more correct
Whatever.
by a far margin, but I will explain to you exactly why I think
Well
that.
done to both of you.
She's like,
Thank you
stop
very much.
arguing,
I think that
move
the
on.
girls are teaming up against me in this show. This is what I'm feeling here.
She
There's
wasn't
a bit of a
teaming up.
lobby.
She wasn't saying you were wrong or anything.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Why am
Like I
am I
often do.
having
Being
a
diplomatic.
I'm not.
I'll tell you why I'm being OCD about that answer when we talk about it.
A little bit later.
Jokes aside, I think there's actually a pretty cool story behind that.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Alrighty.
What are we talking about now? We're going to head into... Oh, we're heading into Colossians chapter 3.
Colossians chapter 3. Yesterday we were talking about... Hey, I'll tell you one thing that I've done yesterday.
Oh, yeah? Tell me.
Because if you think that, Skafy, he, knows it all. And
Yeah, that's what I reckon.
actually,
Except for at
I
quiz
was
time.
so touched. I was so touched by yesterday's Bible study.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't know all, and I don't even claim to know it all. But I actually learn a lot while we are here.
Yeah,
and I try
I
to
do
not
too.
only be the listener of the word, but the doer.
Yeah.
So we were talking. How we were talking about,
Fathers, don't provoke your children.
Do not provoke your children. Do not exasperate your children. Yesterday, I came to my children. I was, driving them back home from school, and I said, "Kids, Jesus spoke to Daddy this morning, and I have to say something to you. Would you like to know what it is?" And the kid says, "Yes, Daddy. Yes, what?" And I said, "I have to. The Bible says that I am not supposed to lose my patience with you." And they said, like, really? He said, yes. So number one, I want to apologize for every time that I lost my patience with you. And they were happy with it. I said, "Do you forgive me?" They says, "Yes, of course." Then I said, "I also want to apologize on behalf of your mother for that." And I know that she would give me the permission to do that. And they also found it nice. And I said, "Kids, do you know, who do you have to obey first? Daddy or Jesus?" And they all know the answer is Jesus. I said, "Okay, kids, so this is one of these things. Next time that I'm losing my patience with you, I'm giving you the full permission to say, but Daddy, don't forget that Jesus taught you not to get mad at us and not to lose your patience with us. And I'm giving you full permission to say that to me because I'm also wanting to learn. I'm also wanting to grow. And I don't want to do what Jesus told me not to do. Can you help me with that?" And they said, yes. So the word of God is powerful. Yesterday, I had many opportunities to lose my temper with my kids. But instead, I thought about them as just like, that machine analogy we're talking about. And instead of getting mad at them, I would come down to them and says, "Okay, how can I help you get this done?" And you know what? It was such a good day. So I am praising Jesus for that Bible verse there. Fathers, do not exasperate your children so that they will not lose heart.
There you go.
Okay.
That's
That's a little
really
story.
cool. I think I've only ever heard one other man say something like that before, where I think I can't remember off the top of my head who it was. Some Christian guy on the internet was saying, I got upset at my son, or I came in the house and the kids had a big mess and I yelled at them and said, why is there this mess? And they were like, oh no. And then later the older daughter came in and said, hey dad, did you know that my younger siblings actually made yummy cookies or something for you, and that was what the mess was about, and they were going to give that to you because they love you and they were excited to do that, but you just yelled at them, and now they're scared of
and
you,
crying. Yeah.
And he was like, wow, I had no idea that was the case. Thank you for actually coming and calling me out on my behavior, because that was just an outburst that wasn't necessary. And so yeah, I think this is the second time now today that I've heard any father actually
All right.
be humble enough to allow their child to call them out,
Yeah.
and to, humble themselves to Christ, to actually change and not continue in that pathway.
And I love how freely children forgive their parents. It's like, oh, do you forgive me? And it's like, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't we? And when Jesus says, look, the kingdom of heaven, be like these little children, I think that's part of it as well. Also being quick to forgive. Just yeah, of course. I mean, why wouldn't we? That was their attitude.
Yeah.
So I love it.
That's so nice.
So before getting to that, we got a message here that came through from our good friend, where is he? John. John said, in respect to the cannabis story that we were talking about, how this big meta-analysis of 45 years worth of research concluded that there's no evidence whatsoever that use of medicinal cannabis is any good for things such as depression, anxiety, PTSD, anorexia, and so many other things. So I believe that a lot of medical doctors will be reviewing how they have been prescribing medical cannabis to their patients. And so we're talking a little bit about that story. It's a brand new story led by a team of Aussie scientists who actually were surprised. They said they were not expecting these results to come in. They were actually surprised that was the case. As you do with good science, you have an idea, but then when the evidence comes back and it's different from what you thought, then you just surrender to the facts, the evidence. So John, in regards to that, he says, to continue, the drugs being sold in the past 30 years, being hydroponics, are 28% in strength compared to the natural way. So I was looking up here, and John is dead right. He says here, some of these hydroponic grown cannabis, they hit between 15 and 30% THC, which is the active compound, compared to about 4% in mid-1990s.
Wow.
And so basically we're dealing with things that are 7 times stronger than the natural ones, and they still are so ineffective. And they still don't do anything to you.
That's true.
So that's a really, really good point there, John. Thank you so much for bringing that one up. Let's see what else here we got here some friends requesting the resources that we've been announcing. One of them being the George Mueller stories, and the links to the George Mueller stories. I'm going to send that to you as well right after the show ends. Lindsay, let's get back into the family relations and Colossians, because it's been very fruitful. We're going to talk about slaves.
Yeah.
Now. And I think this is super duper interesting.
It is very interesting.
So let's talk about it. Verse 22, please.
Verse 22. So we're in Colossians chapter 3, verse 22. We've talked about wives and husbands and children and fathers. And now we're at bondservants, it says in the New King James Version. It says, bondservants, obey in all things your masters according to the flesh, not with eye service, as men pleasers, but in sincerity of heart, fearing God. And whatever you do, do it heartily as to the Lord and not to men. knowing that from the Lord you will receive the reward of the inheritance, for you serve the Lord Christ. But he who does wrong will be repaid for what he has done, and there is no partiality.
Yes. So this is now moving on from the family household to like the business world.
Yeah.
Slaves, we can compare slaves to today, people that receive salaries and wages and work for someone.
Yeah.
Which is actually this biblical slavery. The slavery in Israel was very much like just like an average person working for a money in our day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is very similar in many ways.
So more like an employee.
Not an employee. Like, you had your house to live.
Yeah.
You have your rights. You cannot be abused. You cannot, you could be, your salary could be terminated if you could only, there's a 7 years contract as well. There's a bunch of things. It was not quite, you didn't receive a salary because the biblical slavery was a position but you would receive housing and clothing and all these things. And after 7 years, you would receive a big lump sum to help you start a new life.
So the Levitical laws in ancient Israel were making it so that slaves for Israelites were much better off than average slaves around the world.
Yeah.
And also today we have more slaves around the world today than there ever have been in history.
Yeah.
And the slaves that are out there in the world today are far worse off than the ones who are in Israel that are being addressed in this time.
Israel, basically God got like an institution that was worldwide and widespread and said, look, we're going to make this very humane. So you cannot hit them, you cannot treat them poorly. They will work 7 years for
It was highly regulated.
Highly regulated.
To make it more like, just working class people rather than abused.
Yeah, and it was a condition of, it was a situation of necessity. The world back then did not have some of the modern facilities that we have. So basically, like if you lost everything through war or famine or something, often, you cannot get a job somewhere. There's not like big business. There's no Kmart's, Walmart's, and these kind of things back in the days. You can just go and just look for a job, put your CV on Indeed or in the web, and someone's going to hire you. Either you're working with your own hands, or you have land yourself and you're a farmer. You have your own business, or you're maybe working for someone that has a business. That are the best kind of case scenarios. But what if it was in a period where there's wars, there's famines, there's just no way to absorb people as salary workers, as daily wage workers? Well, then people would come to them and say, look, just give me a place to sleep, some clothes to wear, some food to eat, and I'm going to be working for you. It's just like an absolute survival, working for food and shelter, which the Bible regulated that and says, look, okay, that exists, and the economics around it do not allow for any other situation for these people. It's either that or starvation and abuse or other kinds of things. So you're going to treat them. We're going to go with that institution, but you are going to treat them very, very different from example, the Romans. Now, the Romans. So Paul was writing to people that were familiar with the Roman slavery system. The Roman slavery system is very similar to the ones that we are more used to in the stories that we hear about the darkness of slavery.
Yeah.
So for the Romans, like your property, bosses can totally beat you up for no reason. There's no accountability. There's no rest.
Sexual
there's no
exploitation.
Exactly. Sexual exploitation, which was absolutely forbidden in the Levitical laws. So this is the Roman style slavery that continued to much of the European history, even American history, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What the Europeans would innovate is that they would actually go, quote unquote, and I'm not using this word in any other way, but in probably the darkest sense, harvesting slaves. You're actually going out and forcing people out of slaves. Before, people had to kind of come to you. They were kind of there, and that's like what you do. Now it became a business,
Kidnapping.
a multi-million international business where you're kidnapping people to use them as slaves. And then you're breeding them and breeding programs. It was an absolute horror.
Yeah.
Which, by and large, the world got rid of in many places. But as you mentioned, it's still very much alive and well in many places in the world.
All around the world today.
Yeah. Particularly with children and everything.
Particularly with children. Many, many children go missing each year.
Speaking of which, we're going to be talking to the CEO of an international organization that has rescued over 15,000
Really?
children from slave-like conditions.
Wow.
So that's going to come next week.
Amazing.
Yeah, so you watch this space.
Sure.
But coming back here, we're talking about Roman slavery, the evilest kind of
Yep.
slavery. And Paul's advice to these slaves say, hey, be obedient, obey those your masters on earth. Not just with external service, not just doing things begrudgingly, doing something just because you don't want to get punished,
Yeah.
but with a sincerity of heart, fearing the Lord. And the common element between all of these things that we treat others not according to what they deserve, we treat others according to what Jesus told us to do.
Yeah.
We treat others for the sake of Jesus. We treat others as someone that Jesus died for and wants to reach. And this is, I think, the big paradigm change for the disciple of God. Because normally people would often say, I respect those who respect me. Jesus says, you go and you love those who hate you. And this is the big paradigm shift between Christian thinking. And why is the reason? Because through our example, people will recognize that there is a power that lives in us that is higher than any power available to humanity. This is the power of the Holy Spirit. So when we are working here, what does it mean? What does it mean when we are at work? Does it mean that we can just cope and tolerate and swallow up any kind of abuse that is coming our way? Well, we're going to be exploring that question.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
And now the microphone is going to be going to Tish's position so she can help us to clarify a quiz question. And I'm going to tell you why I had a bit of a beef with Lindsay before on the answer to that one. So please, Tish.
All right, let's get this sorted out. When King Solomon died, he was buried in the city of David, which is Jerusalem. And that is found at 1 Kings 11:40.
Okay, so the city of David is not Jerusalem.
What
Okay, so the answer that there needs to be corrected.
is the city of David? Bethlehem?
Well, the city of David is
Oopsies.
Bethlehem. However, when David conquered Jerusalem, which was called Jebus at the time, it was the city of the Jebusites, they had a big fortress there.
Yes.
That fortress is called the city of David. So the city of David is the name of his palace, which is like, or his compound. You know how in this day and age, like there's like people like in the Middle East, like these leaders, like they had like compounds with things.
Sure.
So the city of David was a big kind of a castle / compound. So it was that structure. It was a big kind of a quarter.
Is it a fortress inside of Jerusalem?
Yeah,
Or-
it's inside of Jerusalem.
Okay, so not the entire city of Jerusalem is the city of David, but
No,
the city
just
of
like a
David
building.
is a fortress inside the city of Jerusalem.
That's right.
Radio.
Yeah.
So, and what about Zion? What does that mean? Because that's another word for like the same kind of thing.
That's right. So Zion is a very interesting thing. And again, Zion, it's sometimes in the Bible, Jerusalem or that area is referred to as Zion. What is Zion is like the mount, the Temple Mount. It's called the Mount Zion.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Is that like the threshing floor that belonged to Ornan, the Arona?
No, this is Zion is the mountain where Abraham took Isaac to almost be sacrificed.
And is that the same mountain that Jerusalem is built on?
Jerusalem is not built on that mountain. The temple was built on that mountain. Actually, the Holy of Holies was built on what also called Mount Moriah.
But isn't the temple in Jerusalem?
So Jerusalem is like, let's say, like Sydney, right? Like the city. The temple is in Jerusalem, but Jerusalem has many hills, and each hill has a name. For example, you have the Mount of Olives. You have Mount Moriah. You have Mount Zion, which is the same name. It's another name for Mount Moriah. And so when Jerusalem is referred to in the context of God's providence, of God's sovereignty, of the sanctuary, of these kinds of things, is often referred to as Zion or Mount Zion.
Yeah,
but that's the same mountain.
I'm looking at the map in the back of my Bible. I've got to refer to this as much as possible. So yeah, Zion is the southeastern hill, also referred to as Zion. So it's on like the southeastern stretch of the city of Jerusalem, and in the north part of the city of Jerusalem we have the temple, and then just south of that is the royal palace, which I'm
The royal
guessing
palace is the city of
is
David.
the city of David. And Yeah, so there's the Temple Hill at the top, the altar is right there. Just south is the Royal Palace, and then much further south is the Hill of Zion. Interesting.
Okay. That is
So
it.
there's all these different words that refer to a very, very compact, condensed space.
Specific location.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay,
But it's kind of to
interesting.
say that the city of David was like the opera house in Sydney.
But it kind of looks like it's all one hill. It's just a long hill.
They have a bunch of hills. It's a very hilly
Yeah.
city, and they have lots of different mounts. So you have like famous like mounts like Mount Olivet.
Is it like a
Mount of
ridge
Olives.
with little hills
Not
on
a
top
ridge?
of the ridge?
No, it's just like a hill. It's just like a very hilly land and country.
Yeah,
Not just one ridge.
I mean,
just
I'm looking at the
rolling
hill
hills.
structure because it shows up in the back of my Bible that it looks like it's the
Yeah.
ridge of one long hill.
So Mount Moriah and Mount Zion are the same place. It's just different names to it.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll have to study that further.
All right.
That's interesting.
Thank you very much.
Thank
So please, Tish, can you give us a new quiz question?
I most certainly can. Here's the last question for the day. What was Jerusalem formerly called? What was Jerusalem formerly called? If you know, please text us in on 0491 064 669. We have one answer from Lindsay, and it is correct. We're still waiting on...
What is the question?
You literally said it on air a few minutes ago, so...
What was the question again?
What was Jerusalem formerly called?
really?
0491 064
Can't believe.
669. Let's see. Correct. We have two correct answers.
There you go.
One more time. What was Jerusalem formerly called? Let us know. 0491 064 669.
There you go. Okay. Well,
But let me add one more interesting thing to the mix there of confusion, if it's not confusing already.
Yep.
So we have Mount Moriah, later on became Mount Zion, but when they're referring to the city of David, which is not a city, it's a
compound
building,
inside the city.
it's a compound, it's a fortress. They often refer to Jerusalem as Zion. Sometimes they refer to just the city of David as Zion or Mount Zion as well. So that's just to add to the
okay.
confusion
So
there.
it's very muddy
It's
in
very
the language.
flexible
Sure.
in the language there.
Right.
And it's kind of like, I do not know if we have, like kind of like the United States, you have the Congress and you also have the Capitol Hill. It's the same place, but they just call the Congress Capitol Hill. Kind of that
Yep.
similar. So we had, sometimes locations have different names and sometimes you use that name to
Okay.
refer to.
So there's like the very specific meaning for a word, but then it's used loosely to refer to other things in its general vicinity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So
Awesome.
that's
so
the
it's
story.
hard. You have to be very, I guess, studious to figure out what it's exactly referring to in each passage.
That's right. You have to look at it and it's like, oh, Mount Zion is talking about like the city of David. It's talking about Mount Moriah. It's talking about Jerusalem in general. It's talking about the heavenly Jerusalem. You know?
What is going on here?
Yeah,
Which
so you have to
one
look into the
is most probable?
That's right. And this is the last time that I researched about it. That was my conclusions.
All right.
If there's any other details there, radio friend, that you know of, let me know here.
Let us know.
And and you can text us through.
0491 064 669. Let us know what your thoughts are on this.
Okay, so now we're having a very heated conversation here about how to be the best as a Christian, a best employee.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like this probably relates to a lot of people who are listening today.
Yeah, absolutely. It relates to a lot of people. And it says, oh, in all things obey those who are your masters. And it is very interesting because Peter would go on to say, I'm going to find that Bible verse. Maybe Tish can help me find that Bible verse. Tish, a Bible verse that says, obey your masters, even the unreasonable ones. See if you can find that Bible verse for me. It's in my brain. It's just don't have the reference quite perfectly here. But it said, look, whatever you, it's talking about slaves, in all things obey those who are your masters on earth, not with just external service, but with sincerity of heart, fearing the Lord. Did you find that reference?
It should be 1 Peter 2:18.
First
I've
Peter.
got a couple different translations here. We have...
This is the one.
Yep, New King James says, servants, be submissive to your masters with all fear, not only to be good to the good and gentle, but also to the harsh.
Yeah. So servants, so this is Peter now, not Paul, saying, servants, be submissive to your masters. Again, the word submissive appears here. Hypotasso, we spoke about it, like respectful.
Yep.
To your masters, respectful of their leadership. To your masters, with all respect, not only to those who are good and gentle, but also to those who are unreasonable. Okay? Because then it's like, yeah, I did say so, I was harsh, or he heard some things, but because he's like an unreasonable master. And the Bible says, look, no. And why is that? Because, we as Christians are supposed to be passive? Is that what's the point? What do you reckon?
No, I think not.
Because we are supposed to be weak? Is that what the Bible is saying?
No, I think we're called to be strong in every sense of the word. Strong physically, strong emotionally, strong relationally, and also strong in the sense of like refraining from using our strength in an unhealthy way. So as an employee, I think we're called to be strong in serving well and giving honor where honor is due, even if we don't want to. And yeah, like just showing up in the best way possible, and particularly to be a good ambassador for God.
So number one,
people know that we're a Christian. They're going to be laser focused on our behavior, our actions, our integrity, and even our enthusiasm for the job that we're doing.
Yeah. 100%. And this is the thing. So the first thing is that the first principle is, look, whenever we are working, whatever is your work, you're not working for your boss. You're working for Jesus.
Exactly.
You're showing your work will be a reflection of your character. It will be a reflection of your master. When someone sees a person working and they're very diligent at their work, they're going to say, wow, why are you so diligent and committed to this otherwise seemingly meaningful or meaningless or these like difficult tasks that nobody else has that same enthusiasm. That is going to be, if you reflect poorly at work, that reflection will be on Jesus as a follower of Jesus. They say, yeah, these Christians, they're all, they have a bad attitude, they don't work well, they're always talking, they're lazy, they don't have a good attitude, and so on. On the contrary, if you are being diligent and responsible and have positive and good attitude, they'll say, wow, there's something different about that person. I think perhaps because they are Christians. Yeah,
I think this is also really relevant because I think a lot of people will be working in environments like workplaces that might feel toxic. And that might... I know a lot of people who are like, oh, I work in a toxic workplace culture. I don't want to be there. I just want to leave. Like, it's not good for me. It's not good for anyone. Nobody wants to do the work. There's a high turnover of staff there. But a lot of the times, like, I have a friend who is in an environment like that. And I'm like, hey, well, what if God is calling you to stay there right now and to be the light? And like, this is a Christian environment that somehow has toxic culture within it. And I'm like, well, why don't you just see, like, don't press the issue. Don't just like preemptively leave because it's a toxic place. What if you are the light of God in that environment? What if you are the one who is able to bring a sunny atmosphere and to help the place turn around because of Jesus, like the Holy Spirit living inside of you? Absolutely. You can be the one that, brings good into this environment.
Yeah.
Turns it on its head, stops it from being quite so toxic, or, at least encouraging those who are feeling very discouraged and wanting to leave.
Look, absolutely. Look, let me tell this. Like, how from time to time, certain catch phrases and words, they become so popular. So particularly in psychology. Yeah. Back in the days, was everybody was a psychopath, and then everybody became a narcissist. And look, there are psychopaths, there are narcissists.
Definitely.
There are toxic work environments. But I find, particularly in talking to young people, everybody has a toxic work environment story to tell. And I'm not saying that these work environments were not necessarily toxic. They might as well have been. But I'm wondering sometimes if we are making anything that we don't like automatically toxic. Yeah. If we're overusing that word and because we don't have that resilience, we are saying this is toxic. And if it's getting a by phrase for me to say, I'm not going to be here. Because it sounds like with some people that I talk about, every single job that I have ever had, it's toxic. Sometimes I wonder, is the job really toxic or is that toxicity somewhere else?
Or it could be like a self-focus to the point where you're feeling like you're a victim and then you fall into a victim mindset about it.
That's right. So it can be a victim mindset. Now, there can be also toxic environments. So I'm not here to judge which one is which, but I'm here to say that sometimes I think we overuse.
Sure.
Number 2, let's say that you are in a definitely toxic environment.
It's objectively toxic.
Objectively toxic.
Everyone
it has
can
like,
see it. Abuse and oppression is taking place.
That's right. Is it automatically the best thing to do there is just to leave. And of course, we're living in a period of our story where the cost to leave a job is very low because you can just get another job somewhere, or Centrelink is going to take care of you to a certain degree, and these kinds of things. In countries or places where that it's harder, then also people's resilience automatically go up. Not saying that this is a healthy thing, by the way. Don't crucify me here. Let's talk about the Bible, though. And I'm wondering, is as you're saying, if we too quickly jump into the conclusion, you know what, I need to leave, versus jumping to our knees and saying, God, do you want me to stay? God, do you want me to be a light here in this place?
Where do you
want
me
to display? And look, again, I'm not saying that you should stay in a place that is toxic, that is denigrating your mental health, that is making you like depressed and anxiety and having crazy thoughts. No, I'm not saying any of that. But I'm saying here that when you're connected to Jesus, you're asking God, say, God, what do you want me to do here? Perhaps leaving can be the right decision. Perhaps the best decision can be, you know what? I am going to stay, and I am going to reflect and respond the evil with kindness in this situation.
Look, my example here is not going to be exactly a workplace, but when God called me to move to Melbourne a year before lockdown started, and then I was stuck there with nobody that I knew in Melbourne COVID lockdown, I was like, God, help me. Like, what am I meant to do? I'm freaking out. I'm so anxious. And you know what God said to me? He said, don't fret. That's all. Like, he never pulled me out of that, not until much later. I was meant to be in that environment and go through that suffering. But he said, don't fret. Don't be anxious. Don't worry about the next thing that's going to go wrong. Just trust me, basically. Yeah. Take it one day at a time. Go for a walk outside was another instruction. Just go outside. Don't stress. Don't fret.
Hey, look, I've been in environments. I work in environments that people would classify as highly toxic with the investment banking world in Brazil. But this is what I would say for people that are thinking, Skafy, how do I know if I'm in a toxic environment or not? I would say, are you being basically treated with respect, or are you being called names and being bullied? If you're being bullied, if you're being called names, people are being disrespectful to you. Yeah, this is an element of toxicity. Are you being harassed, sexually or otherwise, in your work? Well, this is a toxic environment. I would say don't stay. Just go somewhere else. Absolutely. But if you're saying that your environment is toxic because your boss is demanding lots of things, well, God has given you a mouth to say, boss, I don't think this is possible. I think we can do this and this and this. Yeah. Actually, I'll give you a great example of a girl. She was going to work as an intern at a medical clinic. Okay. And she was hired for 20 hours of work, like part-time. Okay. And when she came down on the first day, her boss came into her and he said, look, this is what I want you to do. I need you to classify these records and archive this and do this and do that. And she said, okay. She didn't know much of the job. And she was doing the job. She was kind of figuring it out. And of course, she was, she looked like, I will get more efficient at certain things as time goes by. But at the moment, this is my rate of completing these things. Yeah. So she came like 2-3 days later to the boss, says, boss, can we talk? Yes, sure. What's the matter? She said, look, you wanted me to do A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Yeah. I have been doing this. This is how much time it takes me. So you're giving me, if I'm going to do all these things that you're asking me, is 40 hours. Yeah. But you have given me 20 hours. So which one of the 20 hours of this job do you want me to actually do? Mm. And the boss realized, in that case, was a reasonable person. Yeah. In this case, but I didn't realize it was that much work. Mm. Yeah, look, no, okay, prioritize A, B, and C then. Okay. And leave, F, G, H to another time, or if I need to change, just do your 20 hours. That was that. If she was a people pleaser, for example, she could be just, this is toxic and so on. But you know what? Sometimes what we call toxicity, a lot of people I've seen calling toxicity, sometimes just like communication issues, things that can be clarified and saying, boss, look, is this what you mean? Yeah. Because I don't believe that this is what this is part of my job is supposed to do. Or can we clarify my job expectations here? A lot of quote unquote toxic things that people call toxic, I believe can be easily solved by, hey, just having a straight chat. Yeah. Conversation. Hey, I'm just a little bit concerned about this, and this. And then guess what? The boss will come back to you and say, if this is the expectations. If you can't deliver that, That's fine. So we need someone else, and you go somewhere else. Everybody's fine. You don't need to be suffering your entire life. But irrespective of the kind of boss that you have, perhaps they're not so polished, perhaps they are a little bit, grumpy, and you don't like their personal style, their personal leadership style. That happens.
Yeah.
Happens a lot. Bible says, look, still work for them as if you're working for Jesus. So you can be a witness to them through your smile, through your positive attitude, through your good humor, through your diligence, because you're there. Your job is also your mission. So I would say to a young person, say, hey, what is a toxic environment? Toxic environment, if your physical integrity is at risk, I would say, yeah, this is toxic. If it's in your mental health, I would ask, okay, is it mental health because of actual victimization, actual bullying, and that you cannot handle that? That's a serious thing. We can talk about it. Or is it because of you just don't like their style, you don't like their attitude, you don't like how they talk, you don't like how they perceive things, you don't like how they centralize things, you don't like perhaps how they make decisions, you don't like how they listen to you, because all these things, these are not toxic. It's just like you're working with a sinful human being of which you and I are part of as well.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the next one, because we're now going to be talking about the bosses and giving them a hard time. How about that, Lindsay?
Let's do that.
Let's go to chapter 4, verse 1.
Sure. Masters, give your bondservants what is just and fair, knowing that you also have a master in heaven. You want me to continue?
Let's just read this one. So for masters, or the equivalent here to business owners or managers, grant to your slaves what?
What is just and fair.
Yeah, justice and fairness. Just treat them justly and fairness. That's it. Don't treat them unfairly.
Yeah.
Don't demand from them that which the law doesn't demand for them, and so on. Knowing that you too have a master in heaven is actually fairly simple.
Yeah.
This one, say, hey, just be fair.
Just because there's a power imbalance doesn't mean you can exploit it, especially as a
don't
Christian.
exploit.
Yeah, don't do what other people do when they are overreaching with their power and their ability. Don't follow their example. Follow Jesus' example. Follow the Holy Spirit working in your heart. So
yeah, this is it. When you go to a workplace, this is what you want. You just want to be treated fairly and justly. This is it. I'm thinking here of some interesting cases here that I've heard from young people that came to me for counseling with work and so on, and some of them were fair. Some of them, I think that they were not toxic. I think their friends were telling them it was toxic, but I definitely did not pass, what I would consider to be the biblical filter of what toxic workspace is. But one of them was because, my boss, I told them, they have to rearrange the products in their shelves in that particular way because I haven't had experience. I work with that. I'm a specialist, on that thing. And I told that to my boss, and then it says, yeah, thanks for your opinion, but I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do my way. Yeah. And I know that their way is way worse than mine and so on. It's so toxic, so micromanager, and he doesn't listen to us and all these kinds of things. And I said, look, maybe you're right. Maybe your way is a better way. But in the end of the day, if the business go broke, it's your boss's responsibility.
Yeah.
They are the ones who are calling the shots, and they have the authority to do whatever they want to their job. So you do what your part is, you give them your suggestions, but you also need to be able to respect that. And that has happened to me many, many times. So many times I've worked with people that I believe were doing things way differently from I believe would be the best thing. And I told them, say, look, I think you're making a mistake. Because this, and that. And they said, thanks for sharing. And they kept doing the same mistake. And I said, okay, it's your responsibility. And I'm here to be a team player. If you listen to me, if you want to go that way, let's go that way. Even though I believe it's not going to be the best one, guess what? It's I'm here because you hired me to serve you. And I'm here to serve you. I'm going to serve you.
Yeah.
So if a sergeant in the army does not agree with the decision of the lieutenant, he's not going to be arguing saying, yeah, I'm not going to do it. He said, Lieutenant, I don't think it's a good idea, but look, if you believe we have to do so, let's do so. Even if that leads us to a very difficult situation afterwards, possibly in worst cases, even death, you know what? This is what good, healthy subordination means. You're being loyal
Yeah.
and you're being respectful of their leadership, even when you don't agree. Actually, let me say one more thing here in that military space. In Brazil, where I'm from,
Yeah.
we don't have death penalty. Thank God for that, right?
Yeah.
Except in one case. There's one exception in the law for death penalty. Do you know what it is?
What's that?
During wartime, if a subordinate refuses to obey an order from their superior, then the superior is allowed to
Wow.
kill them on the spot.
Wow.
And the reason being that it has historical traits, because in a case where you need some hard decisions to be made, and often war involves life and death decisions, and if one person then don't want to do it, then it can start a mutiny, and the
Yeah.
whole in the whole army basically gets
Infected.
infected by that, and so
Yeah.
on and so forth. That's the only case.
Yeah.
Now, in the army, you are supposed to obey everything that your superiors say, except if this is something that is going against the law or against the conscience. You can right then and there says, you know what, I am leaving and I'm losing my rank. I'm losing. I'm actually quit. Effectively, I'm quitting the job because so that I'm not required to comply with this anymore. It's very rare the case that happen, but this is it. So if there's a case where you're saying, look, I cannot comply with this. This is going against my conscience. You are allowed. You have the right to basically say, okay, I will not comply with this work, and I'm resigning effective immediately.
Okay.
Boom, and you resign.
There you go.
So this is the same thing of as it's fitting in the Lord. So again, when the Bible is calling for slaves or for servants or for people working for others to be obedient or to be submissive to their masters, is in the same case as Paul uses the same language to wives and husbands, is as is fitting in the Lord. Not supposed to do to sacrifice your conscience in any circumstance.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
We are now going to get some answers to the quiz questions, so please, Tish.
All right, the answer to that one for what was Jerusalem formerly called was either Jebus or Salem, and that can be found in Joshua 10, verse 1, and Psalm 76, verse 2.
Okay.
Jebus or Salem?
Yes, and there's a bit of a play with words because basically God got the names, the two historical names. You would have, if you
Smush
put them
them
together,
together.
you could say Jerusalem,
Yeah.
but it's not Jerusalem or Yebushalem. It's Yerushalem. Yeru means, have you heard the name Jehovah Jireh or Yahweh Yireh?
Yeah.
Means God will provide.
Ah, provider of peace.
Yes.
God
So
will provide peace.
Jerusalem is a play of words. So instead of saying the place of peace of the Jebusites, it became
It's not Jebus.
the
peace.
location where God will provide the peace.
There you go. And that's exactly
And the
what would
reconciliation.
happen with
Exactly
Jesus.
that what happened in Jesus.
That is where our peace comes from, is Jesus' death and resurrection.
Yes. There's another interesting thing as well, because the city of Shalem, and Jerusalem is not called in Hebrew Yerushalem or Yerushalom. That is what you would expect. But Yerushalayim, Shalayim is the dual plural of Shalom. Shalom is peace.
Okay.
You know how in Hebrew, they have two different modes of plural words.
No. I haven't studied Hebrew.
So
I
you
don't
have
know
like,
this.
in English, you only have one plural. If you have
Okay.
two or more, if you have like, one coin is one coin. If I have 2 coins, I add an S and it becomes coins. Or if I say 3 coins, 4 coins, and so on. In Hebrew, you have a specific plural ending for words, for objects that are 2.
Okay.
And another word or another ending for objects that is like 3 or more.
Oh, okay. So 1, 2s, and 3s.
Kind of like
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Or we kind of have that when we say a pair of scissors. We use the pair.
Okay, right.
So Yerushalayim, it's in the dual plural.
Okay.
Shalayim.
So 2 specifically.
Meaning that there's 2 Yerushalims.
Okay. What does that mean at a deeper level?
There's one Jerusalem on earth
Oh, and one in heaven.
and one Jerusalem, the true one in heaven.
Interesting.
So there's two Jerusalems.
Wow, this has been such a fascinating conversation, fascinating show that we've had here today. What has been your favorite part of today?
My favorite part of today, I'm really enjoying our study in Colossians. I'm finding them super practical, but I'm
Yeah.
also been enjoying to follow on the footsteps of Elijah. And look, I won't be lying to you, but I find it interesting as well. The results on the cannabis studies
Yeah.
and even the Kyle and Jackie O sort of repercussions. I think
Sure.
they offer us like some good object lessons for us to
Definitely.
reflect on the scriptures. What about you, Lindsay? What have been your favorite bits?
Ooh, well, look, I must admit I really enjoyed sharing the story of my little bike adventure I went on when I was 21. I shared that with a friend yesterday, and I was like, oh, yeah, no, I haven't told this story for a very long time, or much at all, really. So I really enjoyed sharing
Are
that
you
story
grateful
today.
that you have your open license?
Yeah, well,
Do you have many demerit points?
maybe 2.
Okay, that's not too
Yeah,
bad.
I've only received like 1 fine in my life, so
Okay.
I'm a pretty good driver most of the time.
Good on you.
What about you, Tish?
I've been loving our study on Colossians.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Really
really
enjoying
interesting? Yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
Tish. Yeah, me too. I think Colossians is getting to a part of the story that is so practical. It's an absolutely beautiful letter. Of all letters of Paul, I think this is probably one of the most beautiful ones as far as beauty of the words is concerned. Yeah,
Yeah, awesome.
very relevant as well for us. This is it. So tomorrow we'll be back. We will be back with more. So today's Thursday, tomorrow is Friday. If you're listening live, thank you so much for your company, radio friend. We really enjoyed spending that time with you. Thank you so much for all the messages that you have sent through. Thank you for participating in the quiz game. Hope you could learn something new. I hope you can start your day with positive and uplifting thoughts. And tomorrow we are going to get back with more Bible studies, with more stories of Elijah, with more reflections on the book of Colossians, and with more fresh news analyzed through a Bible lens for you, and interviews as well. So stay tuned. We are absolutely delighted and honored to have you with us here. So Lindsay, this is it for today. Tomorrow we will be getting into more of it. And producer Tish will be with us tomorrow as well.
Ideally.
Don't know yet.
We will find out, won't
We
we?
will find
Yeah.
out. So it'll be a surprise appearance or not of producer Tish here with us. We'll find out. So in the meantime, I wish you God's peace. Text us if you have any questions. 0491 064 669. And talk faith, live faith, and act faith. And you will grow closer to Jesus Christ.
God be with you till we meet again. God be with you till we meet again.
Thanks for being a part of the Faith FM family. Join our community on Facebook or get in touch at 1-800-FAITH-FM.